to have a bit of tea. It's been a minute. Got to warm up those vocal cords. Hello there, my name is Jonathan and this is Jonathan's Days, and this is my little podcast where I share all about the fibre world that I live in and the projects that I get up to when it comes to knitting and some other things now. Do a bit of sewing as well that appears on this channel, but this podcast is all about yarn and knitting and a bit of weaving. And it has been a minute, so I hope you're sitting comfortably and are ready for lots of content, because I haven't filmed since January, so there's a lot of stuff for me to catch you up on. And because of that, I'm going to split this into two parts, this video, just so it's easier for me to edit and for you to digest. So we're going to split it into, the first part is going to be all my finished objects and whips, and a lot of people just like that content, so you can just watch that part. And then the second half will be all of my acquisitions, as well as kind of future plans and weaving, because I got a loom, spoiler alert. So I'll talk about that in the second part, as well as some bits coming up in the future for the channel and all that. So I hope you are sitting comfortably. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and join this little community that we have going here. I have some fun plans for the rest of this year, which I'll talk about in part 2. So once we get there, we'll chat about that. So make sure you're subscribed and you can like, and then you can comment now or you can comment at the end. And yeah, get comfortable. We have a lot to get through. So let's cast our minds back to the last time we spoke, which was in January, and I would have been working on my Christmas Eve cast-on sweater, which I have since finished. I've actually finished 3 sweaters since we've spoken, so I've really been bashing them out, and we're going to talk about them all today. But first of all, let's talk about the one you wouldn't have seen 2 of them, and you would have seen 1. So I'm sorry you haven't seen the other 2 as whips, but hey, what can we do? This is life. Sometimes life gets in the way. But so, this is my first finished object. This was my Christmas Eve cast on, and I love this sweater. It's completely out of my comfort zone color-wise, I think, and it's different to everything else I've made, but I absolutely love it. So, this is it. This is my finished Alpenglow sweater. This is by Andrea Mowry, Andrea Renatits, and I'll put it on in a second so you can see, but here we go. I wanted to hold it up so I could show some details. This is the yoke, and so this is knit out of, it should have probably already been on the screen, but this is knit out of Magpie Fibres and Spincycle. So the dark green, which on the website is described as a deep teal, but it's definitely more of a dark forest green if you ask me. But this is the Magpie Fibres Spincycle collaboration, which is called Dyed in the Skein. Guys, there's so many colors and words, you're gonna have to bear with me. So this is Dyed in the Skein, and this is in the color Follow You Into the Dark. That's the green, so that's used here, and that's used in the cuff. And it's quite nice. It's quite nice yarn. I liked working with it. And so that's that. The next color is this, which is the Plume. This is Magpie Fibres. It's the Plume base. Is it the Plume base? There's Plume and Feather, and they're pretty similar, and one's cheaper, and I went for the cheaper version. It will be on the screen. But this is their mohair, I believe, and this is in the color Spicy Beaver. I didn't realize that beavers are a thing for Magpie Fibres. They've got a beaver cowl going on at the moment, which is quite interesting. But anyway, then the main color is Magpie Fibres Nest Sport in the color Castaway. And then the color changing color is Robin's Egg, Spincycle, Dyed in the Wool. So my favorite part, which you wouldn't have seen because it's towards the end of the garment, is the corrugated rib. Look how neat it is, and the corrugated rib at the bottom. I think it looks really cool, really different. You don't really see stuff like this. And so it shows up really nice in camera. I think I spoke about before how I was worried that the Spincycle was going to it matched the main color too much, so it didn't pop. But in the end it has worked out, and I have liked how it's ended up looking. I will pop it on for you. So this is actually the Alpenglow 2. So this one is graded it's graded for a more masculine fit. And so I did the size 2, and in the pattern, so Andrea Mowry's husband models it in the pattern pages, and he's wearing a size 3, and I think he's like a similar height to me. I think it mentions in the pattern what his height is, and I wanted mine to be a bit more fitted, mainly because I think in spring, because I wear my sweaters all year long, I think in spring I like the sweaters to be like a little bit more fitted and not as like heavy, and since this was knit on 3.5mm needles with sport weight yarn, I figured it was kind of like a good light sweater. So I wanted it to be more fitted, and it definitely has been fitted. It has relaxed a bit as I've worn it, but I am really, really enjoying it. Let me stand up so you can see. So yeah, it's maybe I could have added a bit more length to it maybe. But other than that, I'm like super, super happy with it. I made a mistake here. I love how knitters like to point out their mistakes. So there's a mistake in my color work here, and I like couldn't have been arsed going back to fix it because it would have been like tinking in mohair, and I'm like, you know what? It's fine. It doesn't bother me. To be honest, if a mistake doesn't bother you in your knitting, then off you go. I know some people could never. I have knitting friends who are like, I could never leave a mistake. I have to go back and fix it, and that's fine. We're all different. It's our clothing. It's our projects. We can do what we want. So what did I love about this? I love the corrugated rib. I loved the fold-over neckline, which is a first for me. I dislike fold-over necklines in general, but I liked this one, and I think the reason I like this one is because it's in such a small gauge, and it's in, as I said, 3.5mm, like sport, almost fingering weight yarn, and because of that, it's much smaller. It doesn't feel like really chunky, which is what I dislike about other folded-over neckbands that I've encountered in my like knitting career. So that's what I really like that. I do like the pop of floof. I don't like how like little floof it takes. So as I think I mentioned in the previous episode, as a whip, stash dye for your floof, like it doesn't really use that much of the skein, or use a different color is my opinion, but I wanted to make the project as it was. So I'm super happy with it. I think I'll be reaching for it a lot more in the spring. Right now it's still pretty cold in London and the UK in general, so we're still really kind of in winter knits. So if I wear this, I have to kind of layer a lot even more, so I'm kind of gravitating towards more chunky knits. It's an Andrea Mowry pattern. There's another Andrea Mowry sweater coming, and everyone knows, I think I've knit 4 or 5 Andrea Mowry sweaters now. I have a lot of projects by her, and it's really easy to follow. Instructions, super clear. She has like video tutorials for a lot of the things that she calls for in her patterns as well, and I love watching her podcast every week. So yeah. And the one thing I didn't do, which she does a lot, is the bind off. So this is a 2x2 rib, and she does a tubular bind off, but she does the thing where so tubular bind off, I think, can only be done in 1x1 rib, or like the stitches need to be just 1x1 knit purl knit purl, and so she does a thing where she rearranges the stitches to be 1x1 and then does a tubular bind off. But I don't think, like, the fun of the tubular bind off for me is the way it like flows over from the 1x1 rib, and so if you've got 2x2 rib and then a like rearranging and then a flow over, it doesn't really work. So I don't know, for me personally, it just isn't enough. The amount of work you have to put in, it isn't worth it for the look compared to something that is a 1x1. But yeah, that's just my opinion on that. So I just did a surprisingly stretchy, which is what if I don't have a tubular bind off or cast on, then it's surprisingly stretchy for me. So I did that for both. I also do it in reverse, which is another Andrea Mowry tip, is that I turn my work and bind off the opposite on the wrong side, because I think I like the look of it. I love it better. Looks a bit neater. And anything else do I want to say about it? I've been wearing it a ton. The Nest Sport is beautiful, really, really nice to work with as well. Yeah, the Magpie Spincycle is nice. It's it doesn't blow my mind for the price point, but I do like the everything else. So yeah, take that what you will. Yeah, I love it. It's so different. I like wore it to a friend had a birthday in January, and we all went to like a country house here in the UK, and so I took photos in the like country house of it, and it was like really nice setting to wear it. So if you follow me on Instagram, then you would have seen those pictures. But they're really, really nice, and it was like a nice to like wear knits there. And so yeah, so that's the Alpenglow. That is my first Alpenglow 2. That is my first finished object sweater, and I have 2 more, if you can believe. So let me whip this off. So second one that I knit. What's the story behind it? I'm like, there's always a tale. What's the tale with this one? So with this one, the tale with this one is that I love recycled yarns. If you've been watching for a while, then you know I love Funfetti from Lavendar. Olin made a recycled yarn. Fibres makes one. And then Spincycle came out with one as well, which they've called Metamorphic. And so this is what they do with all the kind of leftovers from their mill. They spin them up into this kind of, well, it is almost one of a kind. So they kind of have one of a kind drops of this yarn, and it's called Metamorphic. It's a DK weight, and I bought some last year, maybe even the year before. I bought some when it first came out. They've had multiple drops since then. And I just bought a sweater quantity. They come in quite big chunky skeins, and I bought 3 skeins, I believe. And so I didn't really know what I wanted to make with it, and when they released it, Andrea Mowry released a pattern along with it called Metamorphic, and I had no intention of making that pattern, but then I think what inspired me is because the Metamorphic is a reverse stockinette sweater. And I love my wrong side sweater by Max. So I've kind of like really liked reverse stockinette patterning. So I looked at the Metamorphic pattern, and it seemed like quite a simple knit or a straightforward knit compared to the Alpenglow, which is a lot of color work and stuff like that. So it was nice to have something a little bit more relaxing, and also something that I could knit up quite quickly, because for some reason I had like crazy sweater mojo at the beginning of the year. I don't know, I had it last year as well. I don't know why that time of like January, February, like from Christmas Eve till February, I like bash out the sweaters. It's happened the last 2 years, so I don't know what the trend is there, but hey, I embraced it and jumped on it. So I ended up casting on the Metamorphic. I did so as well because for my birthday I went to Loop, which you would have spoken about, and I bought some Spincycle dyed in the wool in the color Stay Ready, and yeah, so I've knit up a Metamorphic for myself. So this is it. So the Metamorphic color I believe is called Grey Lavendar, and as I mentioned, they're kind of like one of a kind drops, so you can't get it anymore, I don't think. But it is one of those things like you just keep an eye, like sign up to their newsletter and keep an eye, and they will eventually have another round of it. And then it's kind of the fun of it really is that like once you get that color, you'll never be able to get it again. So it's one of those things of get a sweater quantity if you want to make if you think you'll make a sweater. So it is reverse stockinette. You can see. So it's actually like a super simple sweater. I enjoyed making it so much. It was really, really relaxing. I think it's on 5mm needles, and I love the slip stitch detail that goes along the sleeve. Let me go. Get it up like that. There you go. Super nice. It's like raised. It's on both sides as well. I just really, really like it. I've been wearing it a ton. My German short rows. Yeah, this is German short rows that are in the collar. So you can see here it's wider here than it is there to raise it up a bit. My German short rows are terrible, guys. I've got holes. I've got massive holes. So I need to kind of go over them with like a duplicate stitch or something to make it look pretty, but I also don't really mind super much. Now, what I will say, so I made a size 3, I believe, and I would have extended the length of the arms and possibly the length of the yoke a little bit, and then just the length of the body. It's top down, so that's kind of pretty standard for me when I knit patterns that are, I mean, generally graded for women. So those are the only ever changes I make, but those are changes anyone of any gender makes. So, you know, the more I knit, the more I sew, the more I make my own clothes, the less I care about like what gender it's made for. Like, I just, if I like it, I have the skills to make it fit my body, so who cares who it is designed for? You know what I mean? And don't look good. So yeah, so what I will say is that it's like the Weekender in that it's like a wider kind of fit in the body, like here. And so it's kind of like loose in the body and a little bit tighter in the sleeves. And I really like it. It's like a really comfortable piece to wear. It looks really fun. And the Stay Ready, which is the color changing Spincycle, is probably, I would say, their most neutral color. You know, like Spincycle's crazy rainbow explosions, color changing everywhere. And this one is like beige, white, gray, brown. Like that's the kind of color changing effect. And I picked skeins that were pretty tame, I would say. And so with the gray lavender, it's quite, I mean, it's obviously striped, but it is quite subtle. It's not very out there. And I think the original sample that Andrea made is using Nocturne, which I've used tons before, which is on a gray base. So it's again more neutral. So, you know, you probably think this was made with that, but it's not. So yeah, it is quite boat necky, which 99% of the time I really dislike in sweaters. This one I quite like because it's like a completely different, it's like boat necky, but it's also got this more relaxed shape in the body. So I feel like it all kind of complements each other. Whereas other times in sweaters that are quite boat necky, they're like got a big boat neck and then they're fitted, or, you know, they're kind of more of a standard fit, and I just don't like how that looks. But here I do like how it looks, and I wear it with I have a certain I have a couple of t-shirts that are the same style but different colors, and I wear them a lot because they have a kind of a nice neckline that kind of mirrors this in a nice way and complements it quite nicely. So I tend to wear it with those. I've gotten compliments on this. I really like the details on it. My boyfriend really likes this one. He said like, oh, you could make me one of those. So we'll see. I'll keep an eye on. He's all gray though, so I'll have to keep my eye on the drops for Metamorphic to see if I can get gray instead of gray lavender. But yeah, I really like it. I'll stand up again. It's quite cool. So yeah, I mean, other than that, it's like quite a simple knit. It's quite enjoyable. It's one I would say that you could do as a beginner quite easily, or, you know, like a second or third sweater. Yeah, I just really like it. It's really easy to throw on. It was a pleasure to knit. It's like the perfect project. What more could you want? It's also like quite different. Like you don't really generally find these things like this in the shop. So that's kind of the projects I really enjoy making. So this one, I spoke about that birthday in January. So this one I am almost finished in time for that trip. So I was like, oh, you know, I'm going to this amazing location. I can take lots of like finished object photos. And my intention was to take photos of this as well. But I think I finished the bind off. I finished the bind off there, or like the first night that we were there, I finished the bind off. And then I like tried it on and I was like, can I get away with this not being blocked? Like, would it look okay without being blocked? And it was so wrinkly. I was like, no, I can't. It would be a disrespect to the designer, to the yarn makers, and to myself to take, you know, finished object photos with like wrinkly fabric. So in the end, I didn't take photos there, even though I did finish it in time to be at the lovely country house wearing it. But yeah, and it's been holding up pretty well. The Metamorphic itself is quite thick and thin. You know, it is kind of similar to any of these other recycled kind of yarns. There's like bits and pieces, and, you know, like I can literally see there's like a really, really pink. Let's see, can I get it to focus? There you go, like a little pink pop out of nowhere, and there's like a blue one in the back. Like they're just random, and that's kind of the fun of it. There's been some minimal pilling from it on my sleeves where I always get pills. And what else do I want to say about it? But yeah, because of that thick and thin, I would beware of knitting something plain stockinette knit. Would just be my shout, which is what I say about like Corey Confetti and any of those kind of ones. I personally don't like how the stockinette fabric looks in when it's thick and thin. You know, reverse stockinette or cables or texture, those kinds of things kind of disguise it, I suppose, and that's why I prefer that. But yeah, so that's my Metamorphic. Don't have much else to say about it other than that I like really love it. I think like Andrea wears it up like this, so it sits up like that, but I tend to like pull it down. This is my vibe. But yeah, so that's Metamorphic, and we are moving swiftly along to the third sweater. Okay, so the third sweater, third finished jumper of this episode. So, 2 Andrea Mowry patterns. I'm not going to give you 10 guesses as to what my next pattern is. It's a max pattern. I haven't done a max pattern for a little bit. It was since September last year, which was the wrong side, I think, was the last max pattern I did. And the motivation, the story behind this one, and the motivation behind this one was that the Unravel Festival was coming up in London. And so I was thinking a lot about the yarns I bought there the previous year and if I had or hadn't used them. And of all the yarn I bought, I hadn't used a lot of it. I used all of the Ching fibre that I bought, and then I had enough for a shawl, and then I had a sweater's quantity that I didn't use. My original plan with that sweater's quantity was to make the Be Positive sweater by Max, and then I kind of pivoted away from the Be Positive to the Goldstar, and it's originally knit in Brooklyn Tweed tones, I believe, and so in the end I did pivot over to that, and so I moved my sweater's quantity that was originally for the Be Positive to the Goldstar, and so that's what I made. I knit it pretty fast, or I knit it up pretty quickly to like have it done for the festival, and I'm pretty happy with it. So here it is. This is my Goldstar. It's been worn, guys. You know I wear my stuff. So I'm not gonna pretend that I like keep it in a porcelain box, a cedar lined porcelain box. I've been wearing it. So this is the yoke there, and then the sleeve detail, which is super nice. So this is knit out of Walcott Yarns Origin, which is their worsted, I would say. Yeah, I think it is worsted. Their worsted weight base. Ugh. So let me get this on. So I hope it shows up kind of correctly. I had a concern that it would be a little bit Christmassy, and I guess it does have a little bit of a festive Christmas vibe, I suppose, but it's definitely like, this is like definitely a pink. It is pink. There's no way you'd think it was red. And then this is like a dark green. So the green is Spruce, it'll be on the screen. White is Lighthouse, and then the pink is Hippie Heart. This was knit in 5 or 5.5 millimeter needles, like pretty chunky needles, which is another reason why I was like, oh, I can get this done like in time for the festival. And yeah, it was nice to go to the festival having like used up a good portion of the yarn I gotten in the previous year, so the stuff wasn't like languishing in my stash. I've been thinking about like clearing out my stash a lot recently. Talk more about that in the next episode, or the part 2. So yeah, it's a max pattern, so I like, it's like max patterns are like my comfort zone. I know what I'm doing, I know how to follow them, I know to trust them. And so it's top down and collar work, obviously. There are sections where there's 3 colors, which was my first time ever carrying 3 colors at once. It's like here, I believe. Yeah, that section there is all 3 colors, which was a first for me. It took me a while to get my tension right. So when I do 2 color work, I do one on the right and one on the left hand, like hold a strand. And in the end for this, I ended up holding 2 in my left and 1 in my right. So getting the yarn tensioned nicely on my left finger so that I could pick the yarns, which is like continental style, that took a little while, and I had a concern that I was like, oh, this isn't going to happen, or like I'd have to like get one of those thimbles that you put on your finger to tension the yarn. So I was quite concerned about that, but eventually I you know, it was one of those things like you do a lot of Google searching, and then there was like but like a picture of someone tensioning their yarn. There's no way I'll be able to describe it to you, but the way they did it worked for me super, super well. So it definitely like cleared me of that anxiety about doing three colors at once, and I was actually pretty fine towards the end. Like anything with like knitting takes practice, and new techniques take practice, but the great thing about knitting is that you're going to get your practice in, you know. If you have 12 rows of 3 colors, by the end of those 12 rows you're going to be better than you were when you first started, usually, or at least you'll settle into a technique. And so I was really like proud of that and happy that I accomplished that. The yarn is super squishy and super wonderful. I really, really like the yarn a lot. I love the colors of the yarns. I think it's really like impactful and nice. Feels very like pink forward when I'm sitting, but it is more of the green. What else can I say about this? I love the details on the cuffs, super nice. And then like it's got a little bit of color work there. It's those little details that makes Max's patterns wonderful. And I really enjoyed making it. It was like fast and fun, and it's nice for this time of year where we're still really cold here in the UK to have like a really like toasty warm sweater, which is quite nice. And when I was blocking it, I was terrified because of like the pink with the white. So I made sure the water was like cold, like no heat in the water, and I had like 10 color catchers, like one inside, one on top, one on bottom. Just because I didn't want I've heard that like pinks and reds are the ones most likely to run, and like the water definitely changed color, obviously, like when you block anything the color changes, but there was the white is still perfectly white. The only thing is like sometimes I'm like it died, but it's just literally like the fibers from the pink kind of going over it. And yeah, I'm really, really happy with it. It's size 3. I'm always size 3 usually in Max's patterns, and Andrea Mary's patterns actually. It tends to be the one I go for. What else can I say about this? Yeah, I'm super happy with it. It's going to be it's like kind of Nordic modern style, and it's something you can get away with, I think, at Christmas as a Christmas sweater with the colors I've chosen. But other than that, it's just a super nice sweater, and maybe I'll keep it on. I'll probably keep it on for the rest of the episode. And then we can move on to one more finished object, not a really big one. So this one, I'm not going to dwell on too long because I feel like everyone makes this and we're all kind of bored of talking about it, but I did make an Oslo hat. I might have spoken about it in a previous episode, but this is made of We County Yarns Kinross 4-ply. I bought that from Beautiful Knitters in London, and I bought 3 skeins. I think they're 50 gram skeins, and I bought 3 skeins to make this Oslo hat. I ended up only using 2, and that's not to do with anything other than that I shortened the hat an awful lot. I was warned that they run very big in the sizes, and so I knit the large, I think there was one size above the one that I made. They kind of class them as like women's, men's. But London is so loud. I think this is classed as a men's size, or like, anyway, the large size is the one I knit. And circumference wise, it fits really, really well, but I shortened the crap out of it. So I knit it and I finished it, and it was like, I don't know if it's like I was wearing it wrong, or there's a look that I like, a way of styling it that I'm not privy to. But I must have taken probably 5, maybe even 7 centimeters out of it. So I literally finished the whole thing, did all my decreases, and then I tried it on, and it had like all this fabric like at the back of my head, which like folded down, with that like, kind of a slouchy hat vibe, which I didn't think was kind of the vibe of the hat anyway, looking at photos of other people's or the way it was finished. And so it's one of those things, I was like, oh, it's fine. And then I was like, oh, I'll block it. But blocking you'll never be able to block something shorter, generally, you know what I mean? So, especially a hat, because I usually block mine like on a bowl, like on a rounded bowl, so you've got like gravity pulling it down, so it's going to make it longer, isn't it? Like, you can block things back into kind of their original length, but you can't kind of scrunch, they'll always kind of get bigger, generally, right? So I finished it, I was going to block it, and then I slept on it, and I was literally like, you know what, you did those decreases in like one evening, like it was so fast to do, so you should rip back and like start it again, or not start it again, just rip back the length. And let me tell you, I'm so glad I did. I think you'll never regret ripping something back to fix it. I'm so happy. I should probably try it on for you rather than flipping it around, but it just fits so much nicer on the back of my head now, and it's super, super warm and comfy, and covers my ears, which is really, really nice in, you know, cold London weather. And even my boyfriend turned around to me and he was like, oh, I'm really glad that you shortened it, it looks really nice now. And I'm like, I agree, it was the right thing to do. So, you know, if you're ever humming and hawing about whether or not you should go back and rip something out to kind of fix the shape, like you'll never regret it. I think it's a difference between, you know, my Alpenglow with that little mistake in the color work, like that doesn't bother me, but like a fit issue will bother me. And it would, if it, like, I'm not gonna not reach for my Alpenglow because of that little mistake, but I am gonna not reach for this hat because I don't like how it fits on the back, and then it never gets worn, and then that's like the real tragedy. So, and it was so long, I was like, I don't know whose head this fits, I don't know who can style it out. So I ripped it back, and it was quite nice. It was a fun, you know, I literally just picked up the stitches the whole way around and just whipped it out, started the decreases immediately from there, and it was all done a day later. And so it was the right decision to do that. And the Kinross 4-ply is so soft and lovely. I'm obsessed with this hat. I love the like folded over brim. It's like a really, really nice, like, I've never done a folded over brim before. Have I done a folded over brim? I've done folded over like waistbands and neckbands, but never on a hat. It's my first time on a hat, and I think I like the like stockinette, like the simple stockinette. There's a reason everyone loves it and everyone makes it, makes multiple of them. I'm not sure if I have no plans to make another one, but I'm definitely inspired by the folded over brim aspect of it, so I'm inspired by that. So stay tuned to the next part to hear what I think about that. But yeah, super, super nice. I held the Kinross 4-ply double for this because it is a DK weight gauge knit on 3.5 millimeter needles, and everyone loves this hat. You've probably already heard of it, and you're like, Jonathan, move on. We're sick about hearing about the Oslo hat. I couldn't agree more. But doesn't it look nice? It's so nice. So yeah, so that is the last finished object. So 3 sweaters and a hat, and that is my last finished object. So let's move on down to whips. So we've got 3 whips. Let's super quickly talk about one you've already seen before. This is my Field Shawl by Max. Let me pull it up. So I think maybe the last round, maybe I just hit the middle. So, oh god, there we go. It's super long. Starts way over here, comes all the way around, middle part has a point, and it's kind of like, it's fun now because I can like guess kind of how it's going to fit almost. It's already super long. Yeah, there you go. You get the vibe. It's a lot of yarn, it's a lot of knitting. So yeah, just talking super briefly on it. It is knit out of Rosa Pomar, Brusca, and the colors are like codes, so they'll be on the screen. It's like C and 10Z or something like that. Just a brown and a green. It's a super simple garter stitch shawl. So you start at this end and work your whole way across. I've got, I think, 9 sections left to go, and it's nice now because we're at the decreasing side. So it just means things get shorter and shorter. This has been kind of my TV knitting. Well, it's too big to kind of transport around. I'm focused on getting this finished because I have another shawl that I want to make, and I have a deadline to make that shawl-ish, and so I want to get this finished. And you know, we're kind of at the home stretch now. It's not too far to go. It'll get much faster. And as I said, the weather's still pretty cold here, so I would like to kind of get it done in the next week or so to actually get a chance to wear it. But it's super, super nice. The yarn is rustic AF. It is super, super rustic. The brown in particular is full of vegetation, like more vegetation than I've ever experienced in any kind of rustic yarn that I've ever used. So just as a flag, the green wasn't too bad, but the brown definitely was. I don't know if it's because the brown is like a natural cut, like I'm pulling it out now, literally. My hope is that I'll give it a really good block with probably slightly warmer water. I sound like Kate Winslet in that show. Warmer water to see if that will bring it all out, but I will report back when I do that. But other than that, it's been super, super fun, super nice, super simple, super easy. If you want a nice, simple project to get a really like impactful, beautiful shawl, I would highly recommend. It's super, super, super lovely. And so, yeah, that's ticking along super, super nicely. But I wanted to mention it briefly because I have put in a bit of work. And hopefully next time you see it, it will be done. My other work in progress is a sock. It's a sock time of the video. And this sock is, I was originally gonna do one of my sock tubes. And I did 2 sock tubes, if you've watched for a while, where you just knit a super long sock tube and then you almost cut it. You cut into it, split it into, put in 2 toes, put in 2 heels, and you're done. My sock tubes that I made, the leg was too long and the foot was too short. So the leg falls down my leg if I wear it. If I wear it with boots, they're perfect because it's like held up by the actual boot. If I wear them with normal shoes, they like it shimmies down and you get that weird like bunching, like it's not sexy. And then the foot, because I do use non-superwash yarns most of the time, has felted and shortened the foot, which was something I was aware of, but now I'm even more aware of. So now the heel is like slipping underneath my actual heel onto my foot. So in general, the fit for those 2 socks hasn't been great, which is frustrating. So I cast on another sock tube-ish. As with my original sock tubes, it's inspired by Mel of the Cozy Cardigans podcast and the Big Little Yarn Co. She was doing a 3x1 sock tube, and so I just copied her. So this is 3x1 rib here and then plain on the back. So the the front half of the sock will be 3x1 rib to give it a bit more hug and structure, and then the back will just be stockinette. And I've literally just done a couple of rows plain and I'm about to start the toe of the sock in 10 stitches. So I'm just about to start the toe here. So this is how long it'll be. So my foot will probably, my heel will probably go somewhere in here. And then the foot will be a little bit shorter. There you go. It looks more like a sock when you do it that way. Just because I wanted the leg to be shorter. And yeah, and this is Mondim. This is Mondim, but it's from Lavendar. So it's Rosa Pomar Mondim, but it's dyed by Lavendar, and the color is Sanho, I believe. It'll be on the screen. And I got this ages ago. It's super cool. Just got like pops of almost orange brown rust on the kind of teal blue seafoam color, I would say. So this this is like my lunchtime knitting that I have at work, or when I'm on the tube or something like that, and I absolutely love it. I love the 3x1 rib. I just like it. I don't know why, I just like the look of it. And so I'm just about to start the toe, and I will not cast on the second sock right away. We're going to Madrid in a couple of weeks, so I will cast it on just before that trip, so that it's be my like plane and travel knitting for there. Because I'm going to cast on a sleeve to be my lunchtime travel knitting, which I'm going to talk about in just a sec. But yeah, I'm really excited about it. It's there's a skein, so you can see the color. Super nice. Really, really like it. And yeah, so I'll report back on this. The full pair won't be done for a little while, but I just wanted to update you on that. And yeah, I like the little 3x1. So that's my sock. So my final whip. Let me find. Oh god, we're doing that thing again where it's just me flicking through a magazine. So my last whip you would know about because I spoke about it previously. Here we go. So my last whip is this. It's going to be the Funfetti, which is by Sylvia Cherry, and this was in Lichen magazine, issue 14. Looks like this. And this. Beautiful, beautiful. Ooh, this actually might help me answer some questions I had. Anyway, so this is, the pattern calls for Westwood Tandem, which I purchased last year when I went to Amsterdam, and I'm searching around for the actual project bag. Yeah, this is it. All my project bags are Hide and Hammer. This is the number 3. So I purchased the yarn for this last year when I went to Amsterdam, and I went to Stephen and Penelope, and I bought some Westwood. And I'm just pulling out the colors. Sweet. So the 4 colors I got, oh god, am I going to remember the names? They're going to be on screen. This is Lichen. This is green olive or olive green. Olive green, I believe. Something like that. Dutch Sky, I believe this one is. And this one I think is Canal House. I think. If I'm right, it's on the screen. So these are the 4 colors together, which I'm super happy with and excited with. And so this pattern is knit bottom up in pieces, and I'm going to talk about it a bit more, but I first of all will show you how far I've gotten. Now this hasn't been blocked, but here it is. This is the back panel. There's the sleeve, so you can see the sleeve is just here, and that's there. That's the lower part, and I'll just bring it up so you can see the texture. Isn't that nice? I really like it. Okay, this is the back, obviously, not the front, but yeah, I'm obsessed with the colors together. It is exactly what I wanted. Like, I had a vision for like a kind of a camo color, and I feel like it's really hit it, and I like the contrast of the ribbing. And so it is a pretty simple slip stitch pattern, like super effective though, and creates this, you know, it's almost like houndstoothy kind of texture. Knit from bottom up, and I had a goal with this was that I wanted to kind of like do it as the pattern said. I haven't really knit much of anything in pieces, and I feel like, you know, it's good to kind of, you know, try other methods of construction to see how you like them, see how they fit, see how they wear. I do a lot of top-down sweaters, and I wanted to kind of diversify, and, you know, people have been knitting in pieces for years. What's so wrong with knitting in pieces? And, you know, I don't dislike the construction at all. I thought that it was necessary to knit this in pieces because of the patterning, and I've kind of found that like doesn't seem to generally be the case, but I did want to kind of just do the pattern as it was, and I also wanted to get faster and better at purling. So knitting it flat meant you're doing a lot more purling, and I feel like we all need to befriend the purl stitch. It is one half of the world of knitting, so that was part of my goal as well. So I was like, I'm going to purl more and get faster at purling and befriend purling and, you know, all that jazz. I think, you know, it's better to just be that way and not have any hang up about it, you know, just make friends with it. So that was the intention. However, for the sleeves, my plan is to, so you knit the front and the back, which flat, and then you seam them together, and then you knit the sleeves flat as well, and you seam them up, and then seam them to the shoulders, and then you pick up for the neck, which I don't think is giving anything away. But I thought that you really kind of needed to do it that way, but then I kind of realized you actually could do it in the round, and I did kind of toy with ripping back and starting again when I was a little bit into the pattern. I was like, oh, I could just knit the body in the round from the bottom up and then knit flat for the shoulders, but I persevered the way I was going. I didn't really want to like rip back, so I haven't ripped back. So now I will do the front panel, and then the sleeves I'm going to do in the round, and that's why my sock project I'm going to pause after the first sock and then cast on the sleeve and see if I can get one sleeve done before we go to Madrid, and have that be as my like lunchtime during the day project, because I think I could get a sleeve done in 2 weeks if I'm working at it at work every day. And I just think, you know, I'm gonna have to do seaming anyway. I'm gonna have to do the side seams, and I'm gonna have to seam the sleeve, like the sleeve cap into the, like set it in almost. But if I do it in the round, so I do it in the round up until like the armpit and then the sleeve cap, it just means that it's one less seam for me to do, and I'm fine with that. And looking at the instructions, I think it can be done in the round pretty easily. So that's my plan. Hopefully that will work, and that will end up going well. Also, you'll see here, I'm got live stitches here. You're not supposed to have live stitches at the end of the panel, but I cannot for the life of me understand what the final instruction is for the last, it's either the last round or the last 3 or 4 rounds, and I don't understand which it is. So because of that, I've just left these stitches live, and my plan is to Kitchener the front and back panels together, because I'm confident in Kitchener and it will leave a nice finish, and it's basically seaming them together. So that's my plan for those, and that's why these are still on live. And the nice thing about these is that they're plastic, so I can block this, and kind of, it's going to wrinkle no matter what, but I can block it so that it's flat. So the plan is to block this piece, back piece, and then cast on the front, do the sleeves at work, and then hopefully in a few weeks I will have a new finished sweater. But it's the Funfetti. I'm enjoying it. It's very very nice. I'm really, really liking it. And I love the yarn. The yarn is beautiful. I would definitely use the yarn again. It's really soft, springy, fun, nice. The colors, beautiful. So yes, that's the Funfetti. It's not that impressive right now, and it's one of those things like knitting I think I might have mentioned it before, like the fun of like top down is that you can try it on as you go and like post about it on the internet, whereas like with this it's like here we go. They're like, is that a cowl? I'm like, no, it's a back. So, yeah, but I'm enjoying it, and I like that it's improving my skills will improve my skills in seaming and skills in purling, and just, you know, help me learn a bit more about different constructions, because I want to kind of expand my knowledge of that. So yeah, so that's the Funfetti by Sylvia Watts Cherry, knit in Westwood Tandem. Yes. And so that's it for part 1 of episode 20, where we have spoken about all about whips and FOs. Thank you so much for watching. I will be posting the second part in about a week if you're watching this, or maybe it's already up, who knows. But either way, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you're knitting on. Let me know what your whips are down below. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. And then if you are interested in everything that's going on in part 2, I will see you in part 2. If you don't care about what's going on, I will see you in the next episode, and we can see if working on that Funfetti really worked out for me, and what I got up to in Madrid, I suppose. But either way, I hope you're well. I hope you're good. I hope you're happy, and I hope your knitting is bringing you joy. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Take care.